Ladies and gentlemen, Kim here. Welcome to the weekly update. Hope you guys had a good day trading today. Market is down 1.5% on the S&P. Keep in mind though, I am recording this intraday. As I record this video, market should be or currently gonna be open for another 1 hour. So you should be seeing some rapid flashing lights on your left because I'm recording this intraday. Market is gonna be closing, an hour here. As I record this video, market is down about 1.6% on the S&P. NASDAQ 2.5, they're down, holding up a little better. Semiconductor 2, small caps 2.6. Transport 1.1 there, banks 2.7, and it looks like healthcare's holding up better today, along with the home builders. Utilities green today, and retail's down heavily, along with the emerging market there. So Bitcoin is down 8%. Gold, silver, miners are up today though. So in this video, in this weekly update videos, we're gonna stick with it tonight. In this weekend presentation, we're gonna be sticking with the spider, Qs, gold, and grayscale Bitcoin. It is all coming up right now. All right, so we're gonna, let's look at the S&P 500 here. We're gonna be looking at, for these weekly update analysis, we're gonna be looking at daily chart. As you can see right here, there's a daily chart. We're no longer looking at 65-minute chart. We're looking at daily chart, meaning each candles represent 1 day worth of data. So we're looking at a little bit of bigger picture here. So I'm going to zoom out later, but I kind of want to talk about some of the levels that we can watch for next week. So you can see currently my Fibonacci level is here, 50% retracement area is a 450 area. Currently we're just right on that vicinity. Dealing with my mid-term moving average. Obviously, my short-term moving average on the daily chart has been acting as resistance, as you can see here. My mid-term moving average is currently right here. Market hasn't closed yet. Again, we got another 50 minutes to go. So I don't know. It will be better if market can, for the bulls, if the market can close above this mid-term moving average. Keep in mind, though, that mid-term moving average is coinciding with that gap there, right? You see that gap right? That gap has been filled. That's 448.95. So that's the level that currently at this time, as I record this video, that's the level that bears are eyeing on. I think bears want to fill this gap. It will be better for the bears. It will be better for the sellers if they can fill this gap. It will be, this gap right here I'm talking about, it will be better for the bulls if they can protect this gap. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to move this down right here, right? So it kind of matches. You can see there's a gap. That's a gap fill area, which is 447. And there's another gap here, which is 442. So I'm going to put these two lines there. I want to see how it behaves in this vicinity. Again, we're currently dealing with a 50% retracement, my midterm moving average, and the gap there. So 447, 442, it's going to be rather, it's going to provide some solid support there. And like I said, it will be better for the bulls if these gaps remaining open going into next week. So let's zoom out here, right? And see the overall picture of this trend. So as I zoom out, we're going to go all the way back to, we're going to look at the long-term perspective of this market. So you can see that's a COVID decline right here, as you can see. And then ever since then, we saw this raising bull market that was a low, and it's faithfully cultivating these higher lows and higher highs there. And we're obviously recently we did make that higher high. We cultivated, printed a new all-time highs, and pulling back. We've seen this before, right? There's a higher high, there's 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 higher high, and there's higher high, right? So we want to give, when it comes to long term and the midterm, right? In the short term of things, as we've been talking about in this week's daily update videos, that short term, yes, bears are in charge. That down gap still open. As long as this down gap that opened out like a week ago or something like that, as long as that down gap remains open, bears gonna be in control. That's the only weapon bears have right now they're working with. In the short term, yes, shenanigans, pullbacks, up and downs, but bears are bringing it down today. But in the midterm and the long term, we do need to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers because we're still in an uptrend. And that's how the market moves, with the higher lows and higher highs. My midterm moving average currently just right there, 449 or 450. Keep in mind last time, that's where we hit That's where we hit. We got close to it here and here and here and here. So we still dealing with rising midterm moving average and rising long-term moving average. That's what I mean. As long as we are still dealing with this trend that is going up, market is going to fluctuate up and down. We do need to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers, right? So again, this is a level that we're dealing with. We don't have any kind of evidence as of today that we're gonna see. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna see any kind of reversal. You know what? I'm gonna actually do this because that's the level right there. And so that short-term moving average on the daily chart. Obviously, we're gonna look at it on next Friday, and obviously next week we're gonna look at 65-minute chart. But next Friday we're gonna look at this daily chart again. But if bulls want to see higher prices, they need to reclaim the short-term moving average. You can see right here we saw that happening in this vicinity right there. You see that how it kind of reclaimed it. There's some fluctuation here, but once with that gap up, and we talked about this, back in early October, we saw that gap up, we saw that follow through. We're above that short-term moving average. Ever since then, this market saw this 2, 3, 4 weeks of bullish run. Now back below it, and that what once worked as support is now acting as resistance, right? So it looks like, so far as I analyze this, there's still 45. You can see right here on my chart, 45 minutes to go before the market closing, and looks like bulls are trying really hard to protect this level. There's a gap area, that's a midterm moving average, and that's the 50%. So bulls obviously need to get up, reclaim the short-term moving average right here to the upside, and ultimately gonna fill this gap. But I don't know if it's gonna be straight like V-shape higher. It might see something like this where some kind of up and down, that might be possibility before this thing actually makes a move of some sort. Could we see a V-shaped reversal? That I don't know. That I don't know. I don't know how it's going to reverse. Obviously, this market is going to give us, piece of information every single day. That's why I do daily update videos for you guys Monday through Thursday. And that's what we're trying to figure out on these weekly update videos that I do. Obviously, here's a daily update videos and there's a weekly update videos. And we're looking at a bigger picture because you want to understand the big picture. As you understand the big picture, as you understand that, there's going to be up and down fluctuations, there is going to be these shenanigans, but we understand the big picture, then you can have a better way to prepare what might potentially, at least as far as the probability is concerned. So again, short term, I'm bearish in the short term. Sentiment is bearish. In the midterm and the long term, we want to continue to be bullish in the midterm. So there could be continuing to see these shenanigans until that sentiment changes, until that price reclaim that short-term moving average. Like right here, we're probably going to see these up and down shenanigans. We'll see gap ups and gap downs, gap up and fades, and just this erratic behavior. And again, this isn't anything new. We've seen this happening this entire year and last year, right? Let's check out Qs and talk about Qs here quickly. Let's just zoom in here a little bit on the Qs. Looks like there are no real gaps until 364, but on the Qs you can see we have the midterm moving average index. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to put in my fib here. Let's see here what I'm going to do. I'm going to use that all-time high peak and the recent low in October, right? That's all-time high peak there, recent high on October lows. And looks like we are retesting that 50% retracement coinciding with my midterm move. There's no gap. Is there? There was a gap. There was a gap. That gap just got filled today. So on the S&P, the gap still open. On the NASDAQ, we just filled it today. And that's the level we're seeing that currently kind of market just hanging around. NASDAQ is still up 25% year to date. Let's kind of zoom out here and get a bigger picture on the NASDAQ. I'm just going to go back to maybe 2021 here because you can see there is that pivot. We talked about this pivot here. So you can see that that's a rising pivot and then rising uptrend support, right? So you can see that that was a level we saw that bottom, or proverbial bottom, and we saw that V-shaped reversal. We're just, again, we made higher highs here. So we want to continue to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers in the long term and the midterm, right? We're going to see these pullbacks, but what the market is doing is coming back down to, again, print and cultivate the higher low. Is that low? Is this low higher than this low? Yes. Is this low higher than that low? Yes. Is that low potentially currently where we're at higher than this current low, or that low in October? Yes, this is kind of what I mean. We'll have its ups and downs, and that's why it's imperative we understand the bigger picture, right? So I think overall, going into next week, in the short term, overall market, in the equity market, overall, bears in the short term, bears are still kind of, making bulls' life miserable with this up and down shenanigans, but that's what they do. So in the short term, we want to give benefit of the doubt to the sellers. Sentiment is bearish going into next week, but midterm, long term remains bullish in the overall market. Let's go to gold here and see what they're doing. Gold is a little bit green here, but still not a whole lot happening right now. Life is hard in the gold market. We extensively talked about it not extensively, but I think quickly we talked about it. Life is hard. You see that resistance. We're not able to get above that resistance. And with that, bears are continue to put the pressure here. So, you know what I'm saying? There's this thing right here, though. Bulls might be putting hope on this guy here. Let's do something like this. So we got subtle higher lows, subtle, not as like slopey, angly as this, lower highs here, but there's a subtle higher lows going on. So we're not really cultivating lower lows at this point. We are actually printing and cultivating and establishing these higher lows, subtle higher lows. I wonder there's some, smart money buying in this vicinity, kind of waiting it out and see if gold bulls can overcome this difficulty that they're facing. Let's go to Bitcoin here, and we'll end the day with this. Bitcoin is tanking today, down 10%. But keep in mind, Bitcoin is up 41% year to date, while gold is down 7%. So you can see, it looks like that gap is getting filled today. Remember last Friday, we talked about that there was this is rising pivot there. That rising pivot was broken. Once that was broken, it kind of got vulnerable, and with that gap just got filled, right? I'm just gonna remove that gap now. You see that? So we talked about that. Once that rising pivot was broken, and now with that gap just got filled. You see how these things play out in certain ways, and that's why it's good to gauge some of these levels so you can have a better way of navigating this market. Keep in mind, overall perspective, this is the gap that made Bitcoin tank 50% late last year. We made a backup. That gap still open. Now, bears opened another gap. And so things are getting a little bit more difficult. However, in the midterm of things, though, bulls have cultivated these higher lows and higher highs. Right? Can we all agree that that's a higher low? That low, currently, that potential, because we don't know if that's low yet, but potential low is definitely higher than this low, right? So we do want to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers in the midterm, while the short-term sentiment is bearish. If you're a bull here, if you really want to see grayscale Bitcoin making new all-time highs, you want to make sure this Bitcoin does not come all the way back down, especially you don't want to see this thing coming down, make a lower low. If we do see a lower low, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, that's going to be a difficult spot. But I think that this big gap, let's say that thing just tanks next week. Like that Bitcoin straight up tanks next week. That gap, I think, is going to provide strong support. That's a pretty strong gap up. You see that gap right here? That's going to provide pretty solid support. But currently, though, we do have that rising support right here. And then that gap just got filled right there, along with the prior resistance gap fill uptrend support. So that 40 is going to have a certain presence here. So we're probably going to see some sort of oversold bounce. And then we'll see how that's going to play out afterwards. If this thing comes back down, bulls want to protect 36. Bulls want to protect this gap. But when we do see a bounce, if bulls can able to go up and fill this gap, that's going to be a huge accomplishment. And then once the gap gets filled, it's going to have this resistance. And then when I get back, I'm going to fill that gap if you want to see higher prices. If you guys enjoyed this weekend, I'm gonna come back for you next Monday. We're gonna reassess the situation. We'll go back to daily chart or the 65-minute chart I'm in. And then each day, we're gonna look at the price action. We'll figure out together how this market plays out. Enjoy your evening and good trade next week.